Guys, I think it's time to get started. Hope you're all having a good day today. Got a little surprise for you today. We have a guest speaker, so you're not going to be just listening to me today, so that's a good relief, I would think. Another, what I consider a very important topic for builder's risk, and this really goes beyond the builder's risk line. It's really how do you process from an agency perspective, we'll give you a little carrier perspective, small premium accounts. So it's all about ease of doing business. But what we're going to do today is bring in a guest speaker, subject matter expert, Tyler Nichols, CPCU, Associate in Reinsurance, Penn State graduate, resident of Pennsylvania, Senior Vice President, Northeast Region Business Development Leader. And Tyler's going to lead the presentation, and he's going to talk about the hidden costs of, I'll look at it like think about small premium and how we handle it. So without further ado, Tyler, take it over.
Wow. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for that mighty introduction. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. We see the title of our presentation today, The Hidden Cost of Selling Builder's Risk. But as Jeff pointed out, we're probably going to be touching on some important issues that will spill over into other lines of coverage, other products that you're working on in your day-to-day at your agency. So we'll jump into our presentation today, and of course, we'll keep an eye on the clock as well. Efficiency, inefficiency, if we want to call out really the hidden cost by name. So we want to touch on a couple things here that are related to efficiency as you think about builder's risk placements. We want to keep that small premium account mentality at the front of our minds, which ultimately should mean low touch, high bind, or first quote in is going to win kind of mentality. Of course, not all builder's risk is created equal. We'll find ourselves working on complex builder's risk almost every week, as I'm sure everyone on this call has as well. But generally speaking, builder's risk, our average policy premium here being right around $2,000. Keeping that small premium account mentality at the front of our minds is critical. So that low touch, high bind mentality, then one important factor to consider is the KPIs of your builder's risk carriers that you're choosing to go to. KPIs, or key performance indicators, is another one of those critical measures for us internally when we're measuring the success of our program. And I would challenge everybody on this call today to know the KPIs of the markets that you're selecting, whether it's for builder's risk or for other lines of coverage you're choosing to place. Ultimately, a quote rate or bind rate will be very indicative of how helpful that market is for you when you're looking to place a piece of business. So we're having a little fun with some of our bullet points here. To rate online or not rate online, you'll see we kind of give the answer away on the next bullet, and it's keystrokes. And ultimately, how efficient is it for you to jump online and be rating this business yourself versus the more traditional paper application route, which ultimately presents a question for you. What's the best use of your time? And are your markets going the extra mile to eliminate unnecessary questions? Because Portals version 1.1 is not always the most efficient solution, is not always the most efficient process. So are your markets challenging themselves to look at minimizing questions asked and optimizing your time? So that'd be another question I would challenge the group to think about when you're selecting your builder's risk markets. Lastly, on this page, is the status quo good enough? Rarely do we engage with a broker across the country in any of our programs, and they're celebrating in cartwheels that we're bringing to them a builder's risk solution that maybe up until then they didn't really think they needed. But when we get into granular detail on our own KPIs, our commitment to efficient processing, the growth of our program, that is ultimately a few of the reasons why our Builders Risk program steps up for a lot of our broker partners. And the last question I'd ask on this page is your own carriers aligned with your own agency goals? So we talked a little bit about the traditional paper application process and online portal access for this business. So on this page, what I like to do is just quantify it a little bit. So we'll have a little exercise here on the screen, and it shows the amount of touch points made by your agency for a traditional paper application. You'll see starting commission, say we'll just call it a round number of 10% on a $1,000 account. Each touch point dropping your ultimate revenue to the agency by 20%. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the same, but an online portal was used. And you'll see the ultimate revenue to your agency has doubled. In this case, it's looking at $40. So we could just see how that adds up over the years. Say we're doing 5 Builders Risk per month. That's 60 per year at an average premium of $2,200. Ultimately generating a commission of around $19,800. The example on the right would generate revenue of around $15,800. The example on the left, the more traditional paper app, perhaps an Accord app, a tremendous amount of underwriting back and forth, extra touches for a number of your agency staff members, ultimate revenue of around $7,900. So about 50% less revenue to your agency going the more traditional paper application route. And that is really a hidden cost as we see it. Going back to number of clicks in the portal experience that you have. Say something as little as 30% less clicks for a given portal that you choose to access for your Builders Risk. That would add up to approximately 1,000 extra keystrokes per year, just by using the same example of 5 Builders Risk per month. So we just look at the cumulative effect of both high touch paper app and number of clicks through your online portal access points. And it certainly does add up and creates quite a hidden cost to placing this business. Next topic we'd like to touch on is flexibility. So a hidden cost in Builders Risk would be more inflexibility. And broader is better is a good place to start there. Choosing a Builders Risk market, there are quite a few to choose from, but it's important to think about how broad of a Builders Risk market you're choosing to go to and what their capabilities truly are. Is it ground up construction? Is it remodeling? Is it coastal areas? Is it frame values that are actually what the type of business you are seeing is? Do you have an alignment there on frame appetite? And will they underwrite things like prior starts, things that come to you and are a little more challenging of a placement? So ultimately, broader is better. The scope of your Builders Risk programs is going to allow you to be more efficient in your placements and not have to go to market when you see that small $2,200 premium come in and land on your desk. So flexibility is critical, but when is it most critical? And we'd say absolutely at the beginning of the Builders Risk process. We get a lot of questions about how we handle extensions in our Builders Risk program, and the answer is we're flexible there too. And I'd let Jeff speak to that more specifically, but what I can speak to now is our flexibility at the start of a Builders Risk and our tremendous appetite there and our ability to work with you on things like policy terms, where I'm sure you are constantly looking for an accurate and flexible solution to align with your builders, developers, and owners' projects. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. So beware of this hidden cost. Negotiating a flexible policy term up front is far more efficient then extending by an endorsement, collecting additional premium, and a lot of extra touch points for you and your agency teammates. Extensions are inevitable, which is why we have some flexibility there too, but making them a regular occurrence is going to eat into your revenue impact at your agency. It's a little bit past lunch, but is your builder's risk market hungry for business? Do they have an underwriting philosophy that aligns with your agencies? Are you in growth mode, or do you have clients that are in growth mode? And if that's the case, you need a builder's risk market that is aligned with that and can step up to the plate and take care of those kind of high growth, very eager situations where you are looking for an aggressive placement. So important to understand who your carriers are from an underwriting philosophy standpoint, and what some of their own goals are for the year. Okay, we've all heard this first line before. And, I think this is obviously very pertinent to builder's risk, but, in our own daily lives as well. Accuracy within builder's risk is another hidden cost that we're going to highlight here. And always finishing your project on time, we believe, is a little bit of a challenger opportunity for you as a professional insurance agent and a resource to all of your clients, challenging them as to how long their project will actually take, not necessarily best case scenario, right? Because the bullet point below is less is not always more, right? So getting an accurate time frame based on their experience, including some time for delays, is going to allow you to issue an accurate policy and, again, minimize touch points, minimize endorsement activity, and boost the revenue impact to your agency. So there's a huge benefit in getting it right the first time and issuing accurate policies. And I know Jeff and his team have issued some webinars around valuing property correctly, using the right type of policy form, ACV versus replacement cost, which is not something we're going to dig in on here. But I know that's been touched on in the past, and the term accuracy here is really more along the lines of getting a policy that is well suited for the specific project your client is working on, and not allowing them to buy less than they need in terms of the length of that term. Slow moving rapid change is a term that oftentimes is used by futurists, believe it or not. I don't claim to be one, although I've had to sit through some futurist presentations. And, at the core, I'll give a quick example, and it's here at Victor O'Shinner, actually. We're a fairly mature organization, 65 years in age, very well known for some of our professional liability programs. Over the years, those programs made up 90% of our book of business here. So over the last 5 years, as we've grown as an organization, that professional liability book of business, the percentage of which makes up our total book, has actually dropped to 60%. So while we've grown, we've actually become less top heavy on professional liability with the expansion of some of our other programs here. So it's a slow moving, rapid change in that way, and that we've been around for such a long time, and we've looked to diversify for many of the years we've been in business. It's been the last 5 years where you've really seen that rapid change kick in. Another example, I think, just relating it back out to the group, would be ACORD applications, where ACORD applications have, I guess, a lot of carriers been moving slowly away from them. We are still dependent on ACORD applications and other lines of coverage, and probably builder's risk is an example of maybe adopting to supplemental apps and online access points more on the earlier side. I would just say that that is just another example of, while it's been a long time coming, it's the change is here, it's now. And I know a lot of your carriers are already moving in that direction. We are at the end of material here on hidden costs of builder's risk. I appreciate you guys listening in on this presentation. Again, as Jeff, I won't so grandly introduce myself again, but my name is Tyler Nichols. I manage the Northeast Territory here at Victor Oceaner. I hope that I had the opportunity to work with each of you individually at some point here on this exciting program in Builder's Risk, and any one of our 14 other programs we have here at Victor Oceaner. I'm going to open it up to the group for some Q&A. I think we had some questions come in during the presentation. And if anybody has anything else, please don't be shy.
Okay, one question that did come in is, how do you register for the portal?
Great question. We make that fairly easy to do online at Schinnerer.com, and we can guide you through that process. You could also reach out to Jeff Benson or myself at the information provided here on the screen. We are available, and we will make access to our portal very, very easy for you. And we have a lot of support here to get you familiarized with the portal, get you registered for that. And while we are a company that has a lot of digital tools, a lot of technology tools, Jeff and his team down in Jacksonville, Florida, bring that personal touch back to this business in a big, big way. So no doubt you'll feel the support of our people operating highly efficiently on this business as we move forward. So take a note of the contact info on the screen, or you could also reach out to our general inbox there listed also.
Okay, you mentioned KPIs. What are some of the KPIs of your Builder's Risk program?
Okay, good question. A couple KPIs we look at is our quote rate, which is trending in between 85 to 92% month over month so far this year. So we're quoting about 9 out of every 10 submissions we see in this program. And then our bind rate there on business that is quoted, so you're looking at a quote to bind rate of between 48 to 50% month to month. And those are the KPIs that we aspire to in this program. Those are the KPIs that we really track.
How does your program handle extensions?
Oh, we do have one more question. Extensions. Jeff, would you like to speak to extensions, or would you like me to just keep on keeping on here?
I mean, I'll take a stab at it real quick. So yeah, Tyler touched on this earlier. So ideally, the perfect world is you write the project for the correct amount of time initially, but sometimes delays happen, something happened. So you call up and ask for an extension. You know, we're flexible, and where it makes sense, the reason it was delayed, there's a logical reason, and we'll offer very favorable terms on the extension. Just be wary, not all carriers do that. Some either won't offer the extension or they change the rate dramatically. So good question, but that's one way to evaluate a carrier.
Another question is about appetite.
Well, I'll touch on appetite.
I had lunch today. It was a good lunch, but no, I'm just teasing. But yeah, when we say appetite, I think we're referring to just the eligibility. And one of Tyler and my counterparts always called it qualifiers. So that's a good way of looking at it too. Some companies don't have a big appetite for certain classes of business, certain values, as Tyler touched on. So another way to evaluate a carrier is to look at how broad their eligibility is in any given program or line. So Tyler said that we quote about 90% of what we look at, which is pretty high. That's good.
Yeah, Jeff, good point. The qualifiers of this program for us is minimized, and that is done intentionally to really kind of clear all the paths for you guys joining this call to come to us and for us to be a solution for you.
One other question. What's the shortest extension you have seen?
Well, I mean, sometimes the closing's pending, so they might only need another few days or another week. I've seen that. A lot of times it's hinged around the closing, and so, whatever it takes, it's not a problem.
Good answer.
All right,
Jillian,
no
any
other
more
questions
questions?
at this time.
All right. Well, I'll just sign off by saying thank you guys again for all your time, and my contact information on the screen here. If there's anything I can do to assist, whether it's Builders Risk or any of our other exciting programs, feel free to reach out. And it's been a pleasure being with you all today.
Yeah, just in closing too, thank you very much, Tyler. I thought he brought a great perspective of the business, and we do appreciate having him as our presenter today. So just in closing, I'd like to echo what Tyler said. It's all about the path of least resistance. So find a company. So many agents spend so much time forcing business on carriers. So what I'm saying is find the carrier, just find out what their appetite and eligibility is, and then hopefully it's something that you see a lot of, and then you feed them. So you don't have to spend time getting multiple quotes on small premium accounts. That's really the hidden cost. So kind of that in a nutshell. And once again, my contact information is on the screen. Give me a call, email me at any time. We look forward to future webinars. We're coming out with some new ones. I think next month's going to be discussing the different policy formats: reporting form, master policies, blanket policies, one-shot policies. So it'll be a pretty detailed look at the business. So I think that's all we have for you today. So once again, thank you very much.